Well, we're back, and a lot sooner than expected, but as it is a double game week, I think it is only right that we do these in separate videos, because technically they're different game weeks, but they're happening in the same week. You know, it is what it is. There will be two predictions that I have not seen yet, as at the time of recording, they've not played their games, so they'll be in next week's video. So currently, Fulham and Aston Villa and Leicester and Leeds have not played their games. They are playing today at time of recording, or they would have played yesterday when you see this video. So I haven't seen those games. Unfortunately, I will not be able to record the video on the day you're seeing it because, well, I have plans. It's just a normal video. We're going to start with reactions and then do our predictions. So yeah, let's jump into those reactions for Game Week 12. And we start with Brighton and Hove Albion versus Nottingham Forest. Now this game surprised me. I predicted 3-1 to Brighton. We actually got a 0-0 draw. And that is very impressive from Forest. I will absolutely take the point we got here. Brighton dominated Forest, both in terms of possession and shots on target, or just shots in general, but we battled well and managed to take home a point. Both Henderson and Yates were amazing, with Yates taking a battering throughout the entire match. He really came through black and blue, but my god, did he put in performance. Forest are looking a much better side defensively. We've seen that recently. It's been getting better and better. Hopefully this is something we can take on into the next game week, as we face Liverpool and Arsenal, both very tough tasks. I'm liking this Forest team that's developing. Brighton, despite trying, have still not scored a goal in I think 3 games now, and De Zerbi is still without a win. So something needs to change for that Brighton squad, or that this could undo their whole season so far, because they were doing so well and they've currently slumped down to I think it's 8th in the table. So yeah, it's a shame, but hopefully they can fix these problems and sort out their issues. And then move on to Crystal Palace versus Wolves. Now up to 2-1, and it was 2-1. Let's go. We got it right, boys. Palace played well throughout this entire match. Zaha put in a huge shift and also got stuck in with some defensive work too. I backed him to score, and he did. Wolves have started picking up games again, which is great for them, because I think they were at 3 goals, now they're at 5, which, you know, decent work. And it was actually Adama Traore, who never scores. He scored a goal. However, in the second half, Palace pretty much dominated Wolves, and it's all down to Wolves not being clinical enough. They need to be more clinical if they want to finish these goals and finish off teams, because they had the chances. They could have gone ahead. And they move on to Wednesday's matches. We have Bournemouth versus Southampton. I predicted 2-1. It was actually 1-0 to Southampton. And fair enough. Southampton went ahead in the 9th minute and managed to hold on to a win, which is, I think that's given them their first win in 6 games, which is crazy. The hosts piled on the pressure to equalise after Che Adams' early header, but they just really couldn't do enough. They couldn't test Bazunu enough, and yeah, they just couldn't get a goal. So well held out for Southampton. I did not expect that at all. And then move on to Liverpool versus West Ham United. I predicted 3-0 to Liverpool. It was actually only 1-0, which surprised me. It was a very low scoring week, in fact. I mean, Fulham and Aston Villa and Leicester and Leeds could change that entirely, but I doubt it. Yeah, Nunez got Liverpool off to a great start when he headed home Tsimikas' cross. Looks like that guy really knows how to use his head, and not much else. It could have been an even bigger margin, but Salah missed 2 chances, and Bowen also had a penalty saved. So yeah, not great for West Ham. West Ham looked better in the second half. They looked much better. Unfortunately for them, they could not break down Liverpool and left Merseyside without any points. Very unfortunate for David Moyes and his boys, but you know, this Liverpool side, I think they're kicking off their season now. And then move on to Brentford versus Chelsea. Now, I predicted 3-1 to Chelsea. It's actually 0-0. A ball draw in London from 2 teams with brilliant attacking players. Tony was denied 3 times by Kepa. That guy's been a crazy keeper since he started. I'm not sure what's happened, but he's had a real turnaround in form. And neither side could break down one another, but that wasn't for lack of trying. Chelsea took out 14 shots, but just could not score a single one of them. Very unfortunate for them. A well thought out point for Brentford. And then move on to Newcastle versus Everton. I predicted 2-0 to Newcastle. It was actually only 1-0. And Newcastle took the lead through Almiron on the half-hour mark and managed to hold on for the remaining 60 minutes. Now, I'm not sure what they've been feeding Almiron, but he's been in insane goal-scoring form recently. He's really put forward a case as he's one of the best Premier League strikers for Newcastle, because the amount of goals he's been scoring recently has been insane. I think he took that Jack Grealish comment to heart. Newcastle are putting forward a really good case as to why they should be challenging for Europe, and honestly, they could actually make it this season if they continue this form they've got going on. I think they could do it, you know. It could be a rogue shout, but they might actually make Europe this season. If not this season, probably next season. And then move on to Manchester United versus Tottenham. I predicted 2-1 to Tottenham. It's actually 2-0 to Manchester United. This match boils down to Tottenham getting dominated for 90 minutes. Ten Hag's United squad, they're a changed beast from what happened last season, and I think some people are still coming to terms with that, because we expected United to be terrible, but look at them, they're doing well. I'm not sure what I was thinking when I thought Tottenham could beat United at home. They didn't, they proved me right. Man United just played really well. It was goals from Fred and Fernandes that saw all 3 points stay in Manchester. And yeah, it was a very good performance all round from Manchester United. So yeah, those have been my predictions. Those have been my reactions to some of the matches that happened last week. Now we're going to jump into my Game Week 13 predictions. Obviously no other matches have happened at the time of recording. And yeah, it's looking like a good week. There weren't many goals in the midweek, so hopefully teams, bring their scoring boots for these fixtures. We didn't see Man City or Arsenal play either because their fixture was postponed. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how those teams play after their week off. I guess they do have European fixtures to fulfill. So it's on off with the Saturday fixtures, and we have Nottingham Forest hosting Liverpool. Now, the last time this fixture happened, it was in the FA Cup last season, and Liverpool only managed to win 1-0. But that was a different Forest side that I'd say were better than the current one. This Forest side is looking better as well. They've been growing recently, gelling more, their defensive unit has become a lot better, and the draw against Brighton will have filled the boys with a lot of confidence going into this clash. Now Liverpool are looking a lot better as well. They've kicked on their season, and they've picked up wins in their last 2 clashes, so they're looking to make it 3 in 3. And I think they will. I'm going to say 3-1 to Liverpool. While Forest are looking better, I think Liverpool are still no doubt the superior side. Despite their rocky start to the season, it's not been as rocky as ours, and I can see them overwhelming Forest multiple times. I do think we'll be able to sneak a goal, but I can't see us troubling Liverpool all too much. We didn't in the FA Cup, and we won't here either. But hey, I did not see Liverpool beating Man City a few game weeks ago, so anything could happen. Now we move on to Everton versus Crystal Palace. Now Everton have lost their last 3 matches on the bounce, whereas Palace have been a bit better, with 2 wins and a draw in the past 3. It's a tough one to call this. Everton aren't playing too great this season, but Palace have also been pretty hit or miss. I'm going to say 2-1 to Palace, I think. I do think they'll win this clash, despite their form being on and off. Palace have scored more goals than Everton this season, but have also conceded more as well. So it could go either way for them. I'm once again backing Zaha here. My FPL needs it, to be frank, but he is a good player, and I think he'll score here too. And then move on to Manchester City versus Brighton and Hove Albion. So after being able to break down Forest, De Zerbi is still looking for his first Brighton win. Unfortunately for him, I don't think he'll find it here either. Man City, on the other hand, will be mostly rested after their game against Arsenal was postponed. They've only got some Champions League fixtures to fulfill. I'm going to say 4-0 to Man City. While Forest had very little shots against Brighton, we're not known for our attacking output at the moment. It needs work, it does. City, on the other hand, have Haaland, Foden and De Bruyne. It's a far cry from Johnson, Gibbs-White and Lingard. Brighton had 19 shots against Forest, but still couldn't convert a single one, and have not scored in 3 games now. It's not looking good, Brev. It's not looking good. And then move on to Chelsea versus Manchester United. Now this is another big clash, as 4th hosts 5th. Potter's Chelsea and Ten Hag's United have been playing really good football, with both teams winning 4 of the last 5 games in all competitions. This should be a good game with end-to-end action from both sides. I'm going to say 3-2 to Chelsea though. I think Chelsea will just nab it at the end. Both clubs have brilliant talent throughout, and I think Stamford Bridge will be a deciding factor in this match. Potter's already fought Ten Hag this season, and I'm hoping to do it here again as well. And you know what? I think he can do it. I'm backing Chelsea in this clash. Moving on to Sunday's clashes, and we've got Wolverhampton Wanderers taking on Leicester City. Now this is a relegation scrap at the moment. As I'm recording, I have not seen Leicester versus Leeds, but I can't imagine it's gone too well for Leicester. They're without Maddison, and I'm sure they'll have felt it throughout that match. But he should be back for this clash against Wolves. Wolves have started scoring goals again, and I think they will here too. I think it'll be a 1-1 draw though. Both teams have goal scorers, however I can't see them being better than the other. If Maddison can come back in the same form he's been in, I think he'll score here for sure. And Wolves, they get a goal a game at this rate, so if that can continue, I don't think they'll have too much issue with Leicester, but I think it'll be a draw in the end. Move on to Aston Villa versus Brentford. Again, I've not seen Villa playing Fulham yet, but Villa have not had a great season as of late. Gerrard may even be sacked by the time you're watching this, so if he has, L for him. On the other side of that, Brentford have been playing really decent football this season, currently sitting at the top half of the table. I'm going to say 2-1 to Brentford. I think Villa's woes will continue here despite being at home. Villa have not been playing well this season and have dropped points in games they should have won. Against Forest is one that sticks out. I do think Brentford will be able to exploit the Villa defence, which hasn't looked too great this season, and take home all 3 points. I mean, just look at some of the blunders they dropped against Chelsea. I know Chelsea and Brentford are 2 very different teams, but they ground out a draw last week. It's a good way to show Villa versus Brentford. You know, they held out better against Chelsea, and I think they'll get one over on Villa as well. Moving on to Southampton versus Arsenal now. The Saints coming off the back of a hard-fought win and are hosting the top of the table side. Now Arsenal will be fully rested, not having to play a midweek league game, but they do have European fixtures to deal with. I'm going to say 3-0 to Arsenal, I think. Arsenal are a very hard team to break down, and I don't think Southampton have it in them to do that. Don't get me wrong, they've got some good players, but I think Arsenal's quality and overall squad is just better at the moment. Arsenal have a very dangerous front line, and with Southampton not being the greatest defensive side, I can see Arsenal's forwards having a field day here. Then moving on to Leeds United versus Fulham. This is one match I cannot accurately predict at all, as I've not seen either performance in this week's matches, but I'll take a punt anyway. I'm going to say 2-1 to Fulham. I think now that Mitrovic is back for Fulham, they'll start picking up points again. I'm hoping Bamford can hit some goal-scoring form, as he is a former Forest lad, and you know, I've liked him. He is a good player. He's just been very unlucky with injuries. I'd like to think he can score here if he hasn't scored in his previous match. Again, this one is a bit blind, but I'm confident Fulham will win. I just think they're the better squad at the moment. However, Leeds, they're not to be underestimated. They're still a very good side as well. Moving on to Tottenham versus Newcastle now. Both teams have been playing really well this season, as seen by their respective positions in the league. Yeah, this should be a good clash, I think, as both teams are in form and they're playing some good football. I'm going to say a 2-2 draw. I think both teams will share the points here. They're both hard teams to break down, and that is why they're 3rd and 6th respectively. Newcastle have only conceded 9 goals and Tottenham have conceded 12, so you know, not many goals from either side. Almiron has hit some goal scoring form as of late, and I can see that continuing for him here, but Tottenham have the quality of Kane and Son up front, and while Son is not having his best season, he's still a class player, and him and Kane, when combined, are still a very threatening duo. I think all points will be shared. And finally, we have West Ham United versus Bournemouth. Now this is a very interesting matchup here, as a wobbling West Ham take on a Bournemouth side who've exceeded expectations. Bournemouth have been playing well under O'Neill, only losing 1 game under his tenure so far, but unfortunately for Bournemouth fans, I think he'll have to add another loss to that tally. I'm going to say 2-1 to West Ham. West Ham have entered some form as of late, and had some good chances against Liverpool, despite not being able to take any points off the Scousers, but I think their quality exceeds that of Bournemouth's, and I think they'll take them over the line in London. West Ham are still a good side despite results, and I think they can pull one over on Bournemouth. So yeah, those will be my Game Week 13 predictions. Hope you have enjoyed. If you have any other predictions, leave them down below. Maybe comment on the fate of Gerrard as well, because I might not know until this video goes out. So yeah, I've been O2GT. I hope you've enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.